just going to get right down to it. So, there are so many times that I am talking to either an individual that's one side of the marriage or to the marriage couple. And oftentimes, because I deal a lot with intimacy, I get couples who, or like an individual is like, we just never have sex. I don't know why. Like, he or she just doesn't want to do it. They're never in the mood. There's, just too tired. There's this, I have a headache, whatever the excuse is. And so my next question is, how's your communication? Are you spending time together? Are you talking together? Are you having dates? Dates can be at home. Dates can be, out. But are you doing those things together? Because they go hand in hand. And also along with that, if you're not having good communication in your marriage in general, then I'm going to really assume that you're not having good communication based around your sexual wants, desires, needs, expectations, any of that. And so there's this giant gap. So though that's where we want to go. We want to go and get into and figure out, how do we fill that gap to bring these two things together in order to increase happiness, fulfillment, enjoyment, closeness, and really strengthen the marriage that you have. And so that is why communication and sexual intimacy are so important, and why they go just really go hand in hand. So I was looking into some Bible passages because I really wanted to be able to show, like, these are not my ideas, right? Like, this is God's design, is how it was created to be. And so I wanted to find this. So the first one says Ephesians 5:33. And it says, however, each one of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. Okay, so we get into that a lot, right? My husband's not loving me the way that Christ is calling him to love me, and so I don't want to be intimate. Or if you switch around onto the reverse side, you have the wife who's saying, or the husband who's saying, my wife doesn't respect me. She's not, doing the things that I want her to do. And so then, I don't want to be intimate. And so there's this correlation of how we treat each other and how we're responding to each other and how we're communicating to each other that goes back to those feelings of, well, I don't feel close to you when we're doing all these other couple things. And so I don't feel like I need to be close to you, at night, in the bedroom, in sexual ways, the way that you want me to. So if we talk about that, if we talk about what the word respect means as far as the wife respecting the husband, respect in the dictionary as a noun is this feeling of admiration for the things that the person has done. And so it's this feeling of admiring. And if you look at it then as a verb, it is to admire someone. And so when the Bible is talking in this reference of the word respect, it's not talking about this all submissive wives do what your husband wants you to do. It's this attitude of response to your husband. And so it's just to show that everything goes back to how we communicate with one another. And so if you have better communication, you have better sexual intimacy. If you're having more intimacy, you're going to have better communication, because that's where they come together. And so when we talk about that, then we talk about how we have one spouse who's, a lower drive and one spouse who is a higher drive. That's what we've been talking about this month, for the month of October, at Sweet Honey and Sacrifice. And so how do we communicate well with one another to move into this space of trying to understand, and so that we can fill in the empty space with more of this intimate longing to want to be together and to grow this closeness. And so I'm going to start with just like a couple of really small things that you can do. So oftentimes we learn like, okay, say goodbye to each other in the morning before you go to work. Like, yes, do that, but do it with intentionality. Not like, okay, bye hun, see you later. But do it with this intention of, I'm going to miss you while you're gone. And so I want to really make sure that I get to say goodbye for the time being, whatever that amount of time looks like for you guys. And then during the day, make an effort to reach out to one another. So whether that means you're sending a text message that says, I'm thinking of you, if you're leaving a note in a lunchbox, and this goes for men and women. We have so many women that work outside the home. Like, there's no reason that husbands can't be doing these same things and reaching out in these same ways. A text that says, you know, I meant to tell you this morning how great you looked, or I love when you get home and I get to greet you. And then do those things, right? Like, you want to greet your spouse when they come home. You want to welcome them back into your time that's your life together. So when you're gone at work, whether it's one of you or both of you, whether you're working from home and so you're in separate spaces, whatever that looks like, you want to be glad when they come back to this time in the space of, okay, now this is us. And so you want to greet them with intentionality. And oftentimes I try to say, greet them with a kiss, but not like a, okay, yeah, I did it. But this I want to, right? Because then, one, as you, the giver of that welcome, of that kiss, it is going to excite you to be welcoming your spouse home with just excitement. And for them, the one coming back home, it's going to be more of this welcome of, oh, like they realized I wasn't here, like I was missed when I wasn't here. And you start to cultivate these healthy feelings of what it's like when you're not together, and this missing of one another when you're not together. When you ignore each other for the entire day because you're at work, and you don't think of each other, and you're not planning or preparing for when they're coming home or when you're going to see each other again, there's this absence in the mind. And when you allow this absence in the mind for every day, 5 days a week, for 8 to 12 hours a day, however long you're apart from each other, it becomes this norm of not needing to be together, not needing to communicate together, not needing to be intimate and loving one another. And so you want to fill that time with little recognitions of each other. And that's what you want to do. And so I say that because when we're feeling loved, anyone, this is high drive spouse, this is low drive spouse. When you're feeling loved during the day and in the times that you're apart, you have this brain mental transformation that starts to take place to where then when you are together, you want to be in that closeness together, whether that means cuddling on the couch, you know, have a little makeout session, holding hands, making love, engaging in foreplay. Ladies, you know, if that's what makes you want to go put on something sexy and be cute. Men, I don't know, maybe you've got something that you know that turns your wife on, certain shorts or pants or whatever it is, but it makes you want to engage in those things. And when you do that and you start communicating more about everyday things, about how work was, because you feel invited to do that. And that's what we want to create in your homes on an everyday basis, in your marriages on an everyday basis. So when this communication starts to bloom, this communication starts to grow, and all of a sudden you're going, oh my gosh, they're interested in my life. Like, oh my gosh, my spouse cares what happened to me today. My spouse missed me today when I was gone. My spouse was excited to tell me about what happened to them at their day. Then it's like, okay, so you've got all this sharing going on. You feel this connected, this emotional bonding is taking place, and it creates this desire, more so this passionate desire of, I want to connect with them. God designed us to be one with one another, and so it really intensifies that. That's what I want. I want to do that and feel that and be that with my spouse. And so I'm going to share something with you out of the Song of Songs. So we know that the Song of Songs is poetry or song, and that it was written by Solomon. What I didn't know was that Solomon actually wrote 1,005 songs. And the title of this one being Song of Songs was because it was the best of all of his songs. And so we can read it, and it's a lot of imagery and it's a lot of symbolism, and so it can get really confusing. And so we're not going to spend a lot of time, but I'm just going to break it down into little bits, like 3 sections. And so it was really written to show this relationship between this engaged bride and groom, and then up into their wedding, and then as they're maturing in their marriage. And part of it was to combat this idea of denying ourselves sexual pleasure, of that it wasn't okay to have these desires and these passions. But really it is. And what it's saying is just do it in the right time, right? So like, wait until you're married, until we see this engaged couple and we hear them saying these exchanges of, I want to be with you. I can't wait to experience you. I can't wait to be in your fullness. I can't wait for you to explore my garden and to see all your beauty and to become one and all these things. But they're saying in the right time. So after our wedding takes place. The other thing that they're kind of combating in this is, yes, go and enjoy all this pleasure when the time is right. And at the same time, you're not allowed and given this pursuit of only pleasure. There's more to marriage than only pleasure. If you're out there and you're like, all I want is my sex when I get home from work, like, not gonna happen. Or if it does happen, it's not gonna be this like great experience of passion and pleasure, because you're missing the rest. You're missing the cultivating of the relationship, of the emotions, of the spiritual side. You're missing that connection of, I want to know you as a person because I love you as a person. And because I love you as a person, I want to experience that wholeness and that physical connection with you as joining our bodies. And so after we watch them talk about what they want from one another and what really they're desiring, then they get married. And so we get to experience this wedding, and they get to go off and they get to have this sexual adventure of consummating their marriage. And it gets a little steamy if you dig in and read it. I mean, she is talking about that her garden was closed, that she kept it closed for all this time, and now it's blooming, and her fruits are ready for him to devour. I mean, they are getting intimate in this. And so why we shy away from talking about it when God puts it right here for us to know what to want, what to desire. Like, these are the things he created for us in this relationship, in this covenant marriage relationship. And so we go on and we see them even get into this marital tiff. And she has upset him, and he goes away and he leaves, and she chases after him and she finds him and she apologizes. And we see this beautiful reunion that takes place because they were able to communicate. So if you go through and you read Song of Songs, you see they are holding back nothing. Like, their communication is like, this is what I want, this is what I'm desiring, this is what I hope to have with you. This is what I want to do with you. This is what I want to do to you. This is what I think of the way that your body looks. I mean, she, in the beginning, is insecure of how she looks, and he is working to build her up and to make her feel as beautiful as he sees that she is. And so there's all these different types of things that we deal with, even now. And this is our answers. This is what we should be going to find out how to be able to kind of interact and be able to have this sexual relationship with our spouse that God is like, yes, that is what I want you to have. This was my plan for you. And so I want to get to communicating. Once you're in this space of communication during the day and together, and you're able to talk about things openly and honestly, and you're working through even conflicts that you have, being able to speak to one another honestly. It doesn't mean holding everything back. It also means speaking kindly, being respectful, being having a listening ear, right? Like, that is another verse that we talk about. Proverbs 18:13 says, if one gives an answer before he hears, it's folly and shame. How often, you guys, how often is your spouse talking, and while your spouse is talking, you're formulating your answer, right? That's me. I'm definitely a formulator. And I'm not hearing everything he's saying. And so then I formulate this answer that I think is so good, and I say it, and he's like, what are you even talking about? That doesn't even go with what I said. And then I'm argumentative, right? Because I'm on the defense, because I know that I wasn't listening. I know that I was formulating this answer. And those are the things that cause problems. So the communication, the listening, listening is maybe more important than the speaking that you get to do. And so really focus on that listening. So we build this communication, and we build this trust, and we work through the things that are bothering us. And while we do that, we also go to this space of talking about our wants and desires from one another, sexually speaking. I'm going to say in the bedroom, but that doesn't mean you have to be in the bedroom, but in the bedroom. And so I have so many of my spouses, and the high drive can't understand why their spouse doesn't want to be with them. Why do they never feel like it? Why are they never in the mood? Why are they always too tired? I feel like it's always an excuse. I don't feel loved. I don't feel wanted. I don't feel attractive anymore. There's all these negative things that can be combated with communication. And then you have your low drive, and your low drive spouse is, I'm always feeling guilty. I feel ashamed that I'm not in the mood, or I just don't feel like it, or quite honestly, like, I just don't get a lot from it. It's not really good for me. I feel like it's all about them. And again, there's this lack of communication, and these two spouses don't even know what the problem is because they're not talking about it. And so if you are the high drive, I encourage you, ask your spouse, what can I do to help prepare you in your mind to be ready to want to be with me physically? But that's scary, right? Because they might come back and say nothing, and I'm just not in the mood. And to that I say, keep trying or get help, because there's always a reason. And it might be a reason that you can't control, which is why I'm saying get help. Maybe you have a spouse that's on anxiety meds or antidepressants or some other type of medication that really lowers that sex drive. And that could be, and that's something that can be worked through so that your marriage can still be completely fulfilling in this way. And then the other thing is, For my low drives, talk to your husband. Sorry, I say husband because typically women are the low drive. I want to rephrase and say talk to your spouse. Talk to your spouse. Tell them what the issues are. If it's that you're afraid to hurt their feelings because maybe it's not as good as you want it to be, their feelings are already being hurt. So address the truth. And that's for either drive. Address the truth that is happening and going on inside of you. Talk to your spouse. Be able to communicate. You guys, there was so long I was mortified. I couldn't even say like sexual words without like turning bright red and laughing. I was a hot mess. And now that I've been able to work through that and get over that, and I can have these conversations and we can talk about like, hey, I like this, I don't really like that, or that feels really good and that really doesn't, and I'm sorry I didn't tell you that for, so long. I didn't know how, I didn't want to hurt you. Those are the things that are causing the hurt because they're causing the separation. And so just if you want to have better communication, be more intimate, cultivate the intimacy, fight through the I don't want to's, and find this space with your spouse. And if you want to be more sexually intimate, find the communication. They go hand in hand. When a couple is communicating well, then a couple is also being sexually active. It is just more the truth than not, because we were designed to be relational human beings. And so that's what we are. I would love to know your guys' thoughts. So send me a message, comment on this post. It'll be available for replay. Let's talk about it. Send me a private message if you don't want everyone to see your comments. But it's so important to get into these spaces of feeling comfortable enough to be able to have these talks with each other. And so if I can help you do that, if I can help hand you some tools that make that easier to work through the embarrassment or to work through just fear, because fear is a huge driver, then let's do that. Let's get these marriages from where they're at to where you want them to be. Let's get them successful. And if you already have a completely happy marriage and you're like, yes, everything's going great, I would really just wish this one part would be a little bit better, then let's focus on that one part. Let's better that part to make your marriage what you want it to be. That is the fun, that is the excitement, and that is what God wants us to do. He wants our marriage to be this fulfilling picture of his relationship with the church. And so we're gonna get ready to end. I have a prayer that I would really like to read with you all as we get ready to head out and to separate. But I want to encourage you just over and over and over again in this area of communicating. Find the way that works best for you and your spouse. And then know, you guys, know, I say this all the time, it's probably going to be in every video that I ever post, but know that sex was made to be great for both of you, not for one of you, not for the high drive, not only for the low drive when they feel like it, but for both of you. Does that mean it's going to be fireworks all the time? No, but it should be enjoyable and pleasurable, and it should be this connecting experience and something that you long for because of the fulfillment and the joy and the connectivity that comes out of it. So don't give up. Keep striving and reach out if you need to reach out. Okay, so this is from Prayers for Your Day by the Daily Grace Company. I love it. It has a prayer for so many different topics of life. And so this prayer is as a spouse. So this is going to be us praying for our marriages and for our spouses. So here it is, if you would pray with me. It says, I praise you for marriage and the beautiful picture it presents of Christ in the church. I thank you for the opportunity to love and serve my spouse in ways that reflect that. Lord, help me to continue learning more and more about my spouse each day. Help me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Use every opportunity to sanctify me into your likeness. Help me to sharpen my spouse in truth. Help me to also be sharpened by them in truth. Create in me a generous and humble heart that seeks his interest above my own. Grant me a willingness to apologize and seek forgiveness. Help me to be an encouragement to my spouse, always looking for ways to spur them on and build them up in the faith. Lord, give me a hunger and a thirst for your word. Give me a thirst for your righteousness. Help me to seek you for discernment in every decision. Surround me with wise counsel to guide me through hard seasons. Help me to use my strengths to support our marriage. Turn my heart to seek after you in everything I do. Hold your marriage fast for the rest of our days. Amen. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being here. And like I said, let's talk about it. Send me stuff. And far more important than sending me anything, get out your phone, text your spouse, tell them something you love about them, tell them that you miss them, tell them that you can't wait to spend time together later. Whatever it is, reach out and let them feel known today, and let them feel seen today and heard today and missed today. So, okay, I will talk to y'all later, and thanks for being here.